Hi everyone, welcome to Uwatcha channel. I am Charan Dasagrandhi. Today we have a special guest with us. He is none other than Sandeep Iranti. He is the CEO and founder of Upper Innovations. So instead of me introducing about him, I think it would be good to hear in his own words. Sandeep, can you introduce yourself to your audience and your
Hi guys.
operations?
Sure. Hi guys, my name is Sandeep. I'm the founder of Upron Innovations. So what we do here is we design and manufacture solar panel cleaning systems. So what happens with the solar panels is they're installed outside in the sun, right? So they do get dirty frequently. So to keep the efficiency up, they need to be cleaned. So where we come in is we try to keep the efficiency of the solar panels as required, like 90 to 95% by frequently cleaning them. So in order to do this, perform these operations, we design and manufacture the cleaning machines that clean the solar panels. So myself, I'm a mechanical engineer. So we started this startup 2 to 3 years ago, and yeah, that's all about me and my startup. Thank you.
Yeah, very good to hear about your journey to Apron, and your work has been phenomenal in the field of solar energy. Uh, like one more thing is, like, I happen to hear about your I happen to hear your sustainability crisis podcast. That was really fantastic. In fact. And
Yeah, thank you.
what I clearly demark with other podcasts is it clearly addresses the current climate crisis, and environmental security, aspects in a more practical way. So can you just share some thoughts about your podcast on sustainability crisis so that people get an opportunity to hear it?
Sure. Thank you. So, my podcast is actually named Sustainability Crisis. And the sustainability crisis I meant to talk about is not only about the environment. The sustainability crisis that I wanted to talk about is the sustainability of the human approach, the sustainability of human outlook towards everything. And environment is one such place which is like the benchmark to talk about sustainability. Because right now, because the history of humanity has been ups and downs for last 20,000 years. But in the present situation, environmental crisis is what makes what is the benchmark, or what is the point that unites everything in the world, or unites everybody in the world, which actually talks about sustainability, the way the humans approach towards any problem or a solution. Because when we talk about the environment, it almost solves almost every other issue, because environment is the backbone. And you could say that the people call the mother earth, right? They don't call it mother earth just because for the namesake. They call it the mother earth because we take everything from earth and we live on earth, and we are not just separated from earth, we are part of the earth. So I do talk about a lot of other approaches and other way of thinking, and the critical thinking, and the approach of the humanity towards societies and cultures and lifestyles and everything. But when we talk about environment and energy and consumption of the energy, I think we will be able to address a lot of problems in the world. So that is about my podcast. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks for sharing. The main intention of doing this podcast, and it's really phenomenal. And I suggest every viewers, please do go through, Sandeep podcast on sustainability crisis. That will really educate you on what exactly is happening and what exactly our role in contributing to the overall environmental crisis and climate crisis, how we are contributing knowingly and unknowingly. So I suggest. And as you suggest,
Yeah.
I see a lot of people speaking about the energy crisis, but I feel that energy energy crisis shouldn't be spoken in as a single term. I think energy and crisis are the two different terms which needs to be connected properly. So I think in our world, like in the hurry to advance more in the technological world, I think we forget to connect these dots. So can you brief us on how renewable energy technologies so far we have can connect these dots of energy and crisis?
Yeah. So, for many decades and centuries, we have been using energy in one form or other. Not only electricity, we have been using energy in many forms. But how much we use and how efficiently we use it, has been changing from time to time. And if there is one revolution that made power consumption very, very high, is the industrial revolution and the oil revolution. And particularly, I want to emphasize on two things here. The first thing is the amount of energy that we consume and the efficiency at which we consume it. Because these two things actually do go in hand, but very often, very rarely we hear about it in the news or anywhere, because we only talk about power consumption, but we rarely talk about how efficiently we actually use that energy. Yes, of course, the governments around the world has pushing to use LED lights and low power consumption TVs, fridges, and everything. But are we really hitting the nail in the coffin when it comes to efficiency? Actually, not, because one of the most inefficient ways of using the energy is burning Either it could be wood, coal, or oil. So the crisis that we have right now is not actually the energy crisis, I believe. It is efficiency crisis. So what we need to do is, when we increase our efficiency, the power productions that we already have is good enough to meet the upcoming demand in the future. So not only we have to reinvent the energy production, we also have to reinvent the efficiency of energy production. So the crisis, when we talk about energy crisis, is about the increase in demand of energy because of uh, because of because of the technological advancements. More and more people are able to afford more, the bigger houses and bigger cars, and they can travel around the world more because they have money. When the technology pushes people into out of poverty and into middle class and upper middle class, this of course attracts not only the financial crisis, but also attracts the energy crisis. So in order to address this, it is just like, when we talk about energies, we can talk about money also. The cheaper it gets, the better. So that's how even the energy is. The more efficient it gets, the better. So we can address the crisis of the energy when if we can improve upon the efficiencies, because even in India, uh, the transmission, the point where the energy is produced to the point where the energy is consumed, there are a lot of inefficiencies because of the transmission, and the grid is very, very old. We haven't not upgraded the grid for a very long time, so there are a lot of inefficiencies involved. And when we want to improve upon this grid inefficiencies, the challenge comes in because all these older power grids are connected to either hydro or coal. So when we have to upgrade this hydro or coal, it is not very feasible because we have to keep using that energy. We cannot shut down the lines. So we have to put up the new lines, then only we can take out the older lines. So now we have the new opportunity that we are installing solar or wind. So when we go to this renewable energy sources, now we have the chance to install new grid and new transmission lines. Let's say, of course, there are of course losses in the transmission itself, but when you want to upgrade the grid, it is a wiser decision to upgrade it through renewable energies, but not the existing ones. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's a fantastic point indeed. That's a very good point indeed, because we ourselves have to have a proper understanding of this energy crisis. So lack of understanding this, what exactly is energy and a crisis and how to address it. So I think most of the problems are centered around that particular angle. In fact, and like I
Yeah.
mean, world has been speaking about a lot of clean energy. And renewable energy. Like if in fact, if we see in US, Mr. Donald Trump has been advocating a lot on clean energy and renewable energy, and giving a lot of sanctions and a lot of subsidies, to people to go for clean energy. So for clean energy or renewable energy to become a mainstream, or to come into the mainstream energy production, like what sort of ecosystem is needed? If possible, can you state some example?
So, what sort of ecosystem is needed for the boosting the adaptation of renewable energy?
Yes.
So the ecosystem is when we talk about energy consumption in traditional way, for a very long time we have been separated from. There are two sides for this: the energy production and the energy consumption. So what happens here is, so there is always been the way that we consume energy is somewhere else in the mountains, or somewhere in there is a river and there is a dam and the production happens there. Or there is a river and there is a coal mine and there is a thermal power plant and the production happens there. So the point of production to the point of consumption. So this is how it has been there for a very, very long time. Yeah, so we are talking about the adoption of the renewable energy, right? So in order to implement the renewable energy, the ecosystem that we need in renewable energy is the way we produce it and the way we consume it. So as I talked about the inefficiencies in transmission, so when we talk about, let's say, solar, the solar energy, you can put up solar the solar panels on top of your roof, and suddenly the solar power plant shifts. There is no transmission. Okay, power consumption and the power production happens at the same place. So there is no point of talking about inefficiencies anymore, because you put up the solar on your roof and the power plant is on your rooftop. And
Okay.
this is the paradigm shift that actually the power companies at the power production plants have
Mhm.
a big threat in the future. Uh, One second. So okay, the ecosystem that we need is and of course there is a challenge for the solar energy production is how do we store it, right? Whenever there is a discussion about, whenever there is a debate about renewable energies, they are like, oh, it's not intermittent, it's not continuous, it cannot produce how much ever we want, and the sun doesn't shine someday and the wind doesn't blow sometimes, right? But
Yeah.
it might be the case in like 10 years ago, but the technology has caught up very, very advanced right now. So you can put up the solar, you can put up a wind turbine on top of your roof, and there are tools that can actually for your location, they can calculate how many wind turbines you may need and how many solar panels you may need, so that you never have to rely on grid anymore. So the literally for 365 days, you never have to you never have to get connected to the grid. You can have a battery. You can have shifting this power production to the power consumption to one place is what sort of ecosystem that we need. But this sort of ecosystem may not work in a place like very crowded places like in cities. It may
Okay.
not be feasible because the area that might be covering the city is not may not be enough to power the power consumption of that place. But then again, it's all about shifting our energy demands. The grid is not able to cope up with all the demands. If we install solar on the roof, we will be reducing the stresses on the demand on the power plants. So that eventually reduces the inefficiencies. That also reduces the cost on the production side, on the upgradation on the production side, because your power plant is on your rooftop, and eventually the efficiencies of the solar panels also will go up in time. So there will be a time that you can actually produce all your energy where you need it, instead of transmitting it from the place of production to the place of consumption.
Yeah, that's a really valid point, because we see the trend of the minimal living and off-grid living. The trend is catching up. All over the world, we can see a lot of people opting to have a renewable life with renewable energy.
Mm.
So that's a very good point, in fact. And coming to the feasibility of the solar energy and its value proposition, how would you speak on this? I mean, can you share thoughts, please?
Okay. So even let's say if the solar is not the cheapest form of power production, let's say, okay, but for discussion's sake, let's say solar is the most expensive source of energy, which it actually is not. So let's consider it's the most expensive sort of power production. Even if it is so, you can think about the next 200 years. So let's say our power consumption today is 100 gigawatt hour.
Okay.
So all you have to do is to build 100 gigawatt hour solar power plant. So that is your target. So
Okay.
you build a 100 gigawatt solar power plant, and suddenly what happens? This 100 gigawatt solar power plant is generating energy for free.
Okay.
Right? I mean, of course, you have to put in a lot of energy, you have to put in the money, you have to install it, and you have to put it there.
Okay.
And let's say that of course, even for coal power plants or any other power plants, you have to put up all the money, right? Even for the nuclear is very expensive to put it up, and it takes 5 to 10 to 15 years to put it up. On solar, even the coal power plant takes 5 to 10 years to construct. But a solar power plant is not the way the coal and nuclear power plants take. It hardly takes 6 to 12 months to put up the same capacity of solar power plant when compared to coal or nuclear. Of course, there are advantages and disadvantages in the technical point of view, but the only advantage that we have with the solar, only solar has that advantage, is down the line. Once you have this 100 gigawatt 100 gigawatt hour solar power plant, you can use this energy to make new solar power plants, new solar panels, right? So once
Yeah.
this cycle starts going on, so you can imagine down the line, 50 years, 100 years, 200 years, it is literally free energy. I mean, down the line, I mean, you have your capital. Once you have this capital, you use this to make new solar plants.
Yeah.
You can have this multiple effect. How many solar panels you can make, but that doesn't happen with coal, or that doesn't happen with anything else,
Yeah. True.
because the solar energy comes from outside the planet. It comes from the sun, but coal and nuclear and oil comes from the earth. So this is a closed system, right? Whatever you do on earth, it is a closed system. But when you put the solar panel up on your roof, you're creating energy that never existed on earth. So it comes from outside the earth, right? So that is what makes a value proposition. And when we consider earth as a closed system, it becomes a perpetual energy machine, because you're not taking energy from the earth, right? You consider in a thermodynamics, if this is a closed system, it becomes a perpetual machine. Of course, the energy comes from the outside, but so this is literally free energy that we think it is expensive, but even if we go back 15 years, no, it is not expensive. The way we consider it, the way we think is expensive. Because if we had, of course, the price has come down dramatically. Right now, solar energy is the cheapest form of energy. It is not one of the cheapest, it is the cheapest form of energy. And it has come to a point where solar power plants have been installing in Saudi Arabia, Gulf area, and they are using that electricity to pump oil.
Wow.
This is
Super.
not a joke anymore.
Yeah.
So this is economics, and this is economics driving the economics. So you can now imagine, using oil to pump out oil is not economical. Using solar to pump out oil is economical. So that makes, no, that's it's simple physics. The energy is in the earth. You're using up that energy. But solar panel, once you mine it, you of course you have to mine for aluminum, silicon, or whatever the ingredients that goes into the solar panel. Once only, you have to mine it only once. And
Yeah.
but coal and oil, you have to mine it, and magically it disappears. You don't have it anymore. But for solar, all you have in the solar panel, you can recycle it n number of times, thousands and thousands of times you can recycle it. And you can keep using the sun's energy, which is like it will last for billions of years to come. So you essentially have a free energy there.
Yeah, thank you. As you mentioned, the country like Dubai and many countries have been using solar energy on a different scale for a different purposes. One particular thing which I loved is the China actually. The China, I mean, they 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 devised a 5-year plan for solar energy implementation, and they were able to top the world in terms of solar energy. So I
Mm.
think like that sort of goals, that sort of policies, how do you think, like in a countries like India, how we can implement those actually?
Well, China, uh, I would say China probably is the reason why we have cheap solar energy. Because if China haven't pushed the production rates that needed for solar energy, if the China wouldn't have pushed it up to the Chinese level, we probably I would say we probably could, right now we probably wouldn't have that much of solar industry that we are enjoying right now, because China has pushed solar industry, solar panel production so much. They are the reason why the power, the price per kilowatt, we say it price per kilowatt. So to produce 1 kilowatt of our solar panel, so one solar panel, right? It has like, let's say 300, 400 watts solar panel. So it's price per watt. So currently the price per watt to produce 1 watt of solar panel, right now it costs about 25 to 28 rupees. So you buy 1 watt of solar panel for 28 rupees. So it is like 2,800 rupees for one unit. So you can imagine that for if you spend 2,800 rupees and you put up that solar panel on on your rooftop, it will generate it will generate tens and hundreds of times of energy that you spent. So this is not magic. This is the numbers of production. So the China has pushed it so far. They are boosting the solar energy, and they're not doing it for I don't maybe they are doing it for the environment, but I think why they are doing it is because of the reasons that that I talked about before, the oil and coal. So you keep digging coal, you digging oil, and then what will you do after finishing? You consume all your mines, you don't have oil, you don't have coal anymore. What will you do? You don't have energy anymore.
Yeah.
So that's what anybody in the right mind knows down the line. Okay, when people say like, okay, we have oils for next 50 years, oh, we don't have to worry about it. Yes, we have to worry about it, because if you don't worry about what happens after 50 years, you cannot be a part of civilization. That's what makes civilization, right? You have to think for the future of humanity. So that is what the Chinese government has done for last 40 years. If they have thought like this 40 years before, we wouldn't have this solar revolution right now. So
Yeah.
they want to be independent of energy. They don't want to depend on coal, they don't want to depend on oil, and they don't want to depend on the countries that produce coal and oil. So there also gives them the freedom not to depend on, also not to, they have the control on how much they will be spending on producing energy, right? Today, the oil price might go up, might go down, and then might go up again. But
Yeah.
sun will come every day, right? Sun has been coming out every day. There is no fluctuation. Of course, there are clouds coming up. There will be cloudy days and sunny days, but you can count on the sun that it will come up every day, right? It doesn't go down. It doesn't cost you any penny. You don't have to pay the sun. That's you don't have to get in contracts with the sun. So it keeps shining every day. So
Yeah.
so the China knows that, and they
Yeah.
have been taking steps to push solar energy for a very, very long time. And half of the solar panels they produce in the country are installed in their own country. So you can imagine that how far the China has went, because they have an installed capacity of 200 gigawatt. Yeah, by the end of 2019, they were able to install 200 gigawatt. So
Yeah. Okay.
for last 1 year, if you can imagine 150 gigawatt in 1 year, you can understand what is the scale of how on what scale they're installing the solar power plants. So this is one thing that gives them the freedom in the future. They don't have to depend on anybody. They don't have to do They don't have to call up somebody to, hey, give me some oil for this price. Hey, give me some coal for this price.
Yeah,
So you just have to put up some solar panels out there, and it keeps giving you energy for next 30, 40 years. Of course, the rated time is only for 20, 25 years, because we don't know that will they last more, because we don't really have that old solar panels. Because if you go back 25 years, we don't really have much of solar panels. So the recent study has actually shown that not 25 years, the solar panels could last up to 40, 50 years. So you can, now you install a solar panel, and boom, for next 50 years you have energy. It keeps generating energy. So anybody in their right mind have to do this. So China knows that it is the right way to do, and they have been doing it. And what about other countries? They have to ask themselves then.
yeah, definitely. Because I clearly see when coming to China, the aggressive move of China in adapting solar energy. I clearly see that the concern of solar establishments is not environmental security alone, but I can see a clear indication of energy security. Because to avoid the dependencies on the other countries, which the tensions were going around. In fact, so I think this is a clear
Yeah.
indication that solar can be a prime aspect of the energy security. Do you have any things, thoughts to share about this solar as a energy security? I mean, something like that.
Yeah. Virus comes out, and then the oil price goes down. See, a single virus can cripple the economy. When people talk about economy, wow, economy is crippling. Then why the oil price is going down? Boom, because it's international commodity. One country generates it and one country produces it. But no one talks about how much electricity prices are going down. No one talked about it, because everybody is in their home and they're using electricity.
Yeah,
And because the electricity is generated in their own countries, right?
yeah,
So, but oil is not generated in their countries. No matter, of course, maybe it could be they might be using coal, they might be using hydro, whatever it is.
yeah,
But the power consumption at the homes or industries, the electricity bills, the electricity prices have not come down. The oil prices have come down
yeah.
theoretically, but they haven't come down to the end consumer. That's another issue to that's another topic that we can talk about. But when it comes to the what do you say? The this national security issues, even India would be running. Even of course, India is a major importer of oil. We do have domestic product producers, but even for us, somewhere in the world, someone sneezes. Somewhere in Dubai, somewhere in Middle East, someone sneezes, and we get cold, right? So that doesn't happen with solar, because India is very close to equator, and we put up solar and windows. But the problem with not having the problem with shifting the dependency from oil to electricity is not as simple as it could be, because we have divided the world into two: the world that runs with oil and the world that runs with electricity. The
Yeah.
world that runs with oil are automobiles, everything that moves, everything that runs, that everything that flies, everything that is on the rails, everything that goes around moves. Mobility, right? Every mobility is driven by fossil fuels, and everything that does not move, or maybe moves a little bit, uses electricity. So we have created these two worlds of energy consumption. So now what suddenly
Yeah.
happens, if let's say India just stops oil and using solar power, how are we gonna run our cars? How are we gonna run our trains? Of course, some of the trains are electrified in India, but most there are some places in India even the diesel locomotives are still there. So how are we going to power those? We don't know, because we are still making petrol cars. We are still making diesel cars. There is a new company in India called Kia, and even they are making diesel cars. So we are not really looking into the big picture. When I talked about China, you might be thinking, oh, they're installing like 150 gigawatt in 1 year. Do they really need that much of power? Why do they need that much of power? What are they doing with that power? No, they're putting that power into their cars. How they are putting their power into their cars? Because they are electric cars.
Yeah.
We don't have those electric cars. All we can have in our the most electrified thing in our car is an Amaron battery, 12 volts battery, and even that is charged by by an IC engine. What a shameful thing, right?
Yeah.
So even that is not charged by our mains. That is not even charged by solar. Even that small battery, because it's in the car and it has to be charged by the engine. And even if we do go solar, we don't know what to do with that energy because we don't have electric cars. An electric car is not just a mobility. When I said the world of oil and the world of electricity, we just have to forget and throw away the world of oil and coal.
Mm.
And we have to understand the world of electricity. And this world of electricity can only be achieved when we shift everything that runs on petrol, coal, or diesel to electricity. The simplest form of energy consumption is an electric motor. You can go everywhere. You can do anything in the world. Electric motor is a prime component in anything.
Yeah.
So except cars. Why? Because we say that we did not had enough technology to build electric cars. That's a good excuse, maybe in 2010, but in 2020, it is actually only an excuse. And what is stopping any country, let's say in India, to go electric? I'm not sure because I don't see any trouble to shift the mobility from diesel petrol to electric mobility. I think the only hurdle is we don't want to shift. We really don't want to do that. That is why it is not happening. Because see, China has worked for last 30, 40 years to come to this point, and all you have to do is just go eat their lunch, right? You don't have to
Yeah.
work. See, you go to school, you don't have a lunch box. What you do? You go eat somebody else's lunch, right? So somebody else mom made it, somebody else mom packed it, someone else carried it. You don't have to do all that work, and you have to be at least smart enough to go eat their lunch. So if you don't eat their lunch, and if you don't know how to make your lunch, what will happen? You'll starve to death.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. All we find here is just excuses. As you mentioned about the electric car, the first thing that comes to my mind is I think around 1970s or something. GE made an electric car, and I think that was almost a flop because they made even a documentary on the death of electric car. That was a beautiful documentary, I
Yeah,
think. And today,
yeah,
I think the adoption of electric cars, if we speak about electric car, I think the synonym for electric car in today's world is, I think, it's Tesla, because this guy
yeah.
really changed the complete game of I would say it's a tremendous paradigm shift of like how we perceive the the electric energy or solar energy basically. And in the automobile industry, specifically in the automobile industry, I think that's a phenomenal job. He is one of the motivation, I think, which because of which we see that electric cars are really feasible and they can be operated in the real world. So, do this, based on this Tesla, the innovations. So, can we be relaxed that the solar energy can meet the future needs of the world?
Well, solar energy can meet not only the future needs of the world, it can actually meet the present needs of the world. Because As we talked before, solar is the only perpetual machine that you have, because solar energy is the only energy that comes out of Earth. And Tesla and Elon Musk, of course, you cannot talk about Tesla without talking about Elon Musk. Elon Musk is the one who envisions the most impossible. He's considered to be the visionary that has a vision of impossible and makes it possible. But I would say he would go behind the easiest things and make them look harder, because nuclear fusion is the most hardest thing to do. He's not doing it. All you have to do is put up a solar panel, and the sunlight comes in, you have electricity. You don't have to do anything else. I believe he goes behind the easiest technologies which people have ignored for a very long time. Because when we talk about solar, we know that solar energy is like almost free, but we don't do it because we are not able to solve the issues that comes with solar energy. So what he does, he takes the obvious choice. So what is the best way of powering a car? The most efficient machine is a motor. Why are we not doing it? Because we don't have batteries to do it. We don't have the battery technology to do it. So what he does, he goes and develops battery technology, right? People may say, oh, it's very hard. But probably they haven't tried hard enough, because, of course, Tesla makes it look so easy because, in my opinion, it actually is easy, because electric motor itself is very efficient in its own way, in its inheritance. It is in its basic configuration. For last 150 years, nothing has changed in electric motor. So is Tesla, Nikola Tesla is a genius that his invention has not been changed for 150 years? Sure. But I would say we are dumb that we haven't reinvented the motor yet. Because if we haven't reinvented what happened 150 years ago, we are not going towards the future, we are going towards the past. So if 96% is the efficiency that he is getting, why we haven't reached 100%? I mean, of course, it is not possible to get 100%. What I'm trying to say is, why we haven't reinvented the motor. It has been there for a very, very long time. So what Elon Musk does, he takes electric motor and he reinvents it. He takes a battery and he reinvents it. He doesn't really do anything much dramatic or doesn't exist in the world. He just does it the way it has to be. And I asked myself many times why Elon Musk never thought about nuclear fusion. Why doesn't he do it? He doesn't do it because it takes enormous amount of energy and an enormous amount of resources, and we will never know if it will happen or not. That is why he is not doing it. Why he is doing solar? Because it has, the industry existed for a very, very long time. All you have to do is put it on your roof, make a battery, make a software, put them together, put it out there. And these things, other companies are not able to do it because of one big reason. They live on inefficiencies. Their bread and butter is inefficiency. The more inefficient they are, the more money they get. That is how the world worked for a very long time. Because you can see the car, the petrol car, literally the engine efficiency is about 35 to 40%. And the petrol that has to come from underground or undersea to your tank will reduce the process that it has to go through, will actually reduce the final efficiency of your car to like 12 to 15%.
Yeah.
So it's just, you're living off inefficiencies. So electric car is one. You have your solar panels on your roof. You have battery in your home, and you have a car in your driveway. You plug it in, it gets charged. And you know what is the overall efficiency of a solar car for an electric car? The motor itself is about 98% efficient. Or when if you have solar panels on your roof and have an electric car, the efficiency is about 60 to 70%. So it's about
Yeah.
5 times more efficient. So he's not doing the hard things. He's doing the easy things, but he's doing it in a way that we think it is not possible.
Yeah.
So that is the paradigm shift that he's bringing to it. So
Right.
you can talk about SpaceX. For a very long time, the space industry has been very inefficient. They just go up, they throw the rockets into the space. So what he did, he goes up and he brings the rocket back down. What is it? It's efficiency. So whatever he does, it's all about efficiency. So he does the things easy way, and he does the things the most efficient way. And this also not only applies in technology and electricity, it also applies in our own lives, because the more efficient we are, the more relaxed that we can be. So you can relate it to many things in life. Yeah. The Tesla also have a product called Solar Roof.
Yeah.
So what it essentially does is it combines the roof. Of course, not in India. We don't have a roof. I mean, the way the Americans have a roof, they have an inclined roof that is made of clay or some other type of materials. But in India, we have concrete roofs, so it's a different geography. But what he does in America, they have a product called Solar Roof. So what they're doing is, what you actually have to do for if you want solar on your roof, you have to have a roof, then you put solar panel on the roof. So it's an extra cost. The roof itself costs you like $150,000, and then the solar costs you about $60,000. So it costs you about 200 $250,000. But what Tesla does is, they make a solar roof, which is they combine the roof and they combine the glass. They combine the solar panel. So they make it the one solar roof. So it is made of glass, and the glass has the solar panel inside, the solar panel that generate electricity. So you don't have to use a roof and then put a solar panel. All you have to do is use this one and put it as a roof. So when you do
Yeah.
that, he was able to reduce the price of the roof. The price of the roof combined with the solars, it become, let's say, $250,000. If you pay for only the solar Tesla roof, the solar
Yeah.
roof, it only costs you like 170 or $180,000. So then the
Yeah.
light bulbs goes again, because you don't have to do these two things. All he's doing is efficiency. He's approaching to a solution. He's approaching to a problem with a in a different way. He's not pushing solar panels. He's pushing. I mean, you can sell the solar panels who have people have a roof, but if you're selling the roof itself, where
Yeah.
is the competition? There is no competition here.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
All he's doing is just, proposing a solution where you can be efficient. So when you have an efficiency, there is no competition, in fact, because people are left with no choice because you are given the best. So I think that's a really, a great job, Elon Musk, and it's a very inspiring thing. In fact, can you state any apart from environmental security and energy security? Can you share
Mm.
any like some key trends that can drive solar energy adoption? Any some 3 points or 4 points, something?
So, so the key points for a very long time, the debate, the argument is always been the price of solar, and the price of solar is not anymore the point of debate.
Yeah.
And now the next big thing now is, oh, how can we install solar power plants when the power production is so unreliable? Because solar energy is a production based generation, not demand based, consumption based generation. A coal power plant or a hydel power plant,
Yeah.
is a consumption based production, the energy generation. Because if the consumption
Yeah.
fluctuates, the coal power plants or the hydel power plants are able to cope up with fluctuations of energy needs. But what happens with solar, it cannot fluctuate like that. The solar energy, what happens, it keeps producing the energy that it wants, depending on the sunlight it has. So it is production based. It keeps generating however the sunlight is, the condition of the sunlight is. So this is the main difference between the consumption based power production or the generation based power production. What happens here is we need a reservoir to put all that energy into, and then we create a head to use that energy whenever you want. Just like a tank on your top in your home, you fill it up and you use it when you need it, so that you don't have to run the pump all the time, right? So that's how an solar power also works. So what you have to do here is energy storage. And when we talk about energy storage, the first thing that anybody thinks about is a battery, right? A chemical battery. But actually, when I talk about energy storage, I'm actually talking about many types of storages. Like when you construct a dam for tidal power, it's actually a reservoir of energy. So it's a battery. So it's a battery that has water in it. So it is a mechanical battery. When you compare it to an electric battery, it is storing energy, right? It is storing potential energy of water. A battery is
Yeah.
storing electrical energy. So what we have to do is, I'll give you some examples. There is a company in Switzerland. So they
Okay.
had they had what do you say, a bunker from World War II. So apparently
Mm-hmm.
Switzerland also built bunkers to save themselves from World War II. That less we know about Switzerland, I didn't know that they were also afraid of World War II. So what they did is, so they don't have, so they're not expecting World War III anymore. So what they did is they converted that mountain into a energy storage device. So let me explain how they did it. What they did is they put concrete, or like they sealed the entire cave, entire mountain inside, and there is a big cave inside that they built to accommodate a
Yeah.
lot of people. Okay, so what they did is they sealed it with concrete, and then what they
Mm-hmm.
did, they have a compressor, air compressor. So they
Okay.
use that electric energy from solar, and they pump energy and they compress air into the mountain. So the mountain is an air bottle. Like when you go to a service center, they have an air bottle that stores air that
Yeah.
goes into your car tires. The same kind of principle is used, but instead of making a huge big air bottle, because making a air bottle is very very expensive at that size. So what they're doing is they're using the natural the weight of the mountain itself to use that as an air bottle, and they're compressing that energy and they're storing that compressed air. And when there is a demand in electricity, they use that compressed air to run the compressors backwards and they generate electricity. This is one type of energy storage. And I'll give another example. There is another company called Gravitricity. What they did is, no, I don't know. The World War II result have been World War II has left so many things. They're using the missile shafts from World War II again. So they build a lot of shafts to launch missiles, and we don't have
Yeah.
World War II anymore. So what they're doing is they're using that shafts, the missile shafts,
Okay.
and they have a weight like a 2 tons, 3 tons weight,
Yeah.
and they connect it to a generator,
Mm-hmm.
and the weight goes down, right? The
Yeah.
gravity,
Yeah.
the gravity pulls it down, and when it is going down, it generates electricity. And
Okay.
when you have the sun up, they take the electricity from the solar power plant and they lift the weight up.
Oh.
So it is another form of energy storage. So you
Mm-hmm.
don't have to think when you think about, oh, we don't have battery technology. Oh, we don't have battery technology. Yes, we don't fucking have battery technology, but we have our minds, and we have a lot of course, we don't have shafts in India. We don't have mountains with big holes in India. but we have a lot of sun and we have a lot of rivers,
Yeah.
and we can use this energy to pump back the water into the dams, and we can use that as a reservoir. And of course, I think there is one project that is coming up in Kurnool district in next couple of years. They're using the same principle, because there is one plant in UK which uses. So they have actually they don't have a river. What they have is they have a pond or a lake on
Okay.
top of a mountain. How
Oh,
lucky they are! They have a lake on top of a mountain. Can you imagine that?
yeah.
So what they do have is they build up this the turbines on the bottom of the hill.
Okay. Okay.
So they pump they let the, so they use this potential energy to generate electricity. And when they do, and there is they build a reservoir on the bottom. So when they have solar energy, excess solar energy, they use that solar energy to pump this water back into onto the top of the mountain.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
this type of plant is being proposed in Kurnool district, and it might be built in next couple of years.
Yeah.
So this is supported by the government? No, it is a private project,
Okay.
and all we have with the government projects are the not nuclear fusion, not nuclear fusion. Of course, India is a part of nuclear fusion reactor that is currently being built in France.
Okay.
India is also an investor in nuclear fusion technology,
Hmm.
and India is also have nuclear fusion plants all around India, of course, and
Hmm.
they're not as dangerous as people think actually. And India has a lot of wind energy that we are investing, but the saddest part in India is all renewable energy are private sector, and all fossil fuel technologies are government sector. No, there is a contrast. Of course, the government is pushing very hard. Of course, there are some public-private partnership projects,
Okay.
but it
Okay.
is majorly not government is not putting up solar power plants. I
Okay. Okay.
think because its inherent character of no jobs probably. They think they cannot create jobs, but
Hmm.
solar industry creates a lot of jobs which are respectable, because you don't have a job that have to push coal into the you don't have to deal with coal, you don't have to deal with oil. I would say a job in an oil industry and a job in a coal industry is uh, is a death warrant, according to me, because you're consuming the poison every single day, very very slowly. You'll have health hazards all around you all the time. And when you have a solar power plant, you really don't have to do anything. You just have to sit and it generates electricity.
Yeah. Yeah. That's it.
So yeah,
I think,
yeah,
like people used to say when IT trend started, people used to say, welcome to the white collar jobs. I think with solar, people can say that, welcome to the green collar jobs, something like that.
yeah,
So I think we are already set for the green collar jobs. Yeah, that's a
mm,
wonderful point actually. So yeah, I see